and welcome to the afternoon session 2 of the June Power Hour Survey Field to Finish with Confidence. Can everyone hear? All right. Please let us know if you've got any audio concerns or both from volume or from just choppiness, and we'll try to do what we can here. Thank you very much for your time, and let's get started. So if you'd like to follow along, this presentation is meant to be a demo or a presentation, not necessarily a workshop, but we are using a familiar data set. To those of you who are experienced TBC Power Hours, we're using the tutorial data set from the processing feature codes, and I'm going to play this little embedded video if you're new to TBC to show you how to get to this data set. If you'd like to view this recording later and work through the same steps that I'll be working through here this afternoon or this morning. And so the data set there downloads, it's about 5.5 megabytes. So we've got a special guest presenter with me. My name is Joe Blecka. I am the TBC product manager. A couple of months here on the job. Before that, I came from geospatial support, here working for Trimble for about 3 years. And I'm very happy to have Adam here. And Adam, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, hi everyone. Adam Tigris here, from Western Canada originally. I got a diploma in surveying technology there and worked for a few years. And I'm currently in the process of getting a geomatics engineering degree from the University of New Brunswick. And I'm just on with Trimble here, just in my first month still, and going to be here for the next year. So look forward to everything. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Adam. We're really happy to have you here, and you've done great work already, and you bring a nice element of field experience to the team. So thank you very much. I've got my afternoon cup of coffee, which in my opinion is the best cup of the day, and we're ready to get going here. So I titled this presentation Survey Field to Finish with Confidence, which is a little play on TBC's overall mission of Field to Finish with Confidence. And I want to define why I made that distinction, and then what TBC is doing about it, how that fits in to the workflow. We'll go through our demo, go through our typical next steps, and then at the end I'd like to leave at least 10 minutes for some questions and answers. So the survey field to finish workflow, what is it? I want to go through an overview of my process when I was working in the field. My background is in heavy civil construction, both as an office and field surveyor. And this is sort of the game plan that I went through, which is a traditional sort of approach. Our, meaning Trimble and TBC, our core customer and workflow. So first, set out the requirements. Begin with the end in mind. I am a field educated surveyor. My background is not in a formal survey education. And so the concept of beginning with the end in mind really stuck with me here as I was learning the ropes, defining what the project or what the client requires, and then how to plan and execute those requirements. Second step, data collection, work out in the field. What tools do I use? The software and the hardware offerings that Trimble markets and distributes through your distribution partner are just tools to help you get your work done, to meet your requirements. And then how to balance accuracy, efficiency, and precision in the field with those tools, leveraging those tools. QA and QC checks, step number 3. Making the decision of how and where to check field data. Obviously, accuracy and precision are very, very important elements to our work, our survey work. Nothing worse than having to resurvey some data, maybe a little bit of damage to a reputation if some data that you've collected or a project that you've delivered didn't meet the owner's or your client's requirements. And then also I wanted to bring up the point of how to best utilize your survey resources and personnel strengths. For example, I worked with a surveyor who in the field was very, very task-based driven, which was great. You gave this individual a task and he completed it very thoroughly, very honestly, with a lot of pride. And that same individual put in an office environment, sitting in front of TBC, for example, that wouldn't play to his strengths. So it's important to kind of match up and view your personnel if you're a crew chief or a survey manager to what you're trying to do and the data that you've got collected. 4-step data prep, reduction, processing, and drafting. What tools to use? Hopefully the answer here is TBC. We've created TBC to be a single source tool for you in the office rather than using TBC as a pass-through, which is okay. We're accepting of any workflows. We want to play nice and be friends with everybody. But now TBC can be that single source solution. And we feel because of that, we can provide value or even additional value to your deliverable, to your process, and ultimately to your bottom line. Speaking of deliverables, that's sort of the last step here, whether it's a print or a digital deliverable. Am I communicating succinctly and clearly? And then are these requirements met? So while I've created a very linear process here, Adam, in your experience, how often does it actually go down like this?
Yeah, it's surveying definitely something where there can be a lot of complications along the way. Obviously, your end goal is your deliverables. That's what you're getting paid for. But there's lots that goes through it in the middle, all the equipment you're using, and it's getting easier to collect data and mass amounts of it, but you still have to be able to get the right amount and be able to get an accurate deliverable out of it.
Yeah, so while starting with these best intentions, and I specifically made this diagram simple, very clean cut, to highlight the real world is different than this, right? Maybe clients change requirements, so that would then change your data collection. Scheduling conflicts with access to their site, or maybe overzealous or ignorant superintendents that I've experienced, maybe you've done the same, with changing survey field agendas and your scope, throwing a big heap of tasks into the checks and data prep process. And then if the deliverables change or your requirements change and vice versa, all of these ultimately come down to the deliverables, their accuracy, and then the data repeatability. So what I often found out was that the process kind of looks like this. Field work is messy, right? It doesn't always follow a nice linear path, despite your best intentions, and the ability to adapt and deliver is the key to success. And so this is the real world situation and the customer that we target TBC for. So this field to finish workflow is built and can be built on TBC with confidence. Here's our little mission statement. I said little, it's anything but little, it's short and succinct, very clear as to where we are right now and where TBC is going in the future. So we want to be your complete survey office software enabling field to finish workflows with confidence. And how do we do that? Well, we've done that by aggressively growing the software over the last several release cycles. If you're a longtime TBCer, then you've probably noticed over the past couple of release cycles that TBC looks entirely different. Adam, when you're in your, 3 weeks you've been here, can you see we run lean, we run pretty strong, and we are trying to get as much value into the software as possible.
Yeah, it's definitely new stuff is continually going out the door, and it's pretty quick pace.
So the story over the last couple of 6 months, I'll say, since we had our big announcement of our new SX10 total station scanner, has been largely showcasing the SX10. And while Trimble has had tremendous success with that, and we've heard from our customers who've been very pleased with the SX10, that's a new product. And we want to focus on our core customers here as well. I'm speaking to you. You're not going to be left behind. There's been a lot of news about the SX10, and the SX10 is a great data collection tool, but it's a tool just the same as your old total station is a tool, or your old GPS unit that you've been using for a couple of years and has got its battle scars from field work. Those are all tools which then we can bring in to TBC, their data, and complete this field-to-finish workflow. So that's really the focus of this presentation and why I think this is really valuable. The SX10 is great, but our core here at Trimble and TBC is still the conventional and GNSS workflow right now. So some TBC highlights. We're on version 3.9 right now, and I want to cover the last 3 cycles here of what we've added and a couple of highlights that I hope to demo here for you. TBC 370 added the ability for you to code points in your feature definition library to include in surface. So an automatic QC check where you can use codes to block out those points from ever being included in a surface in TBC. Tops of trees, tops of light poles, buildings, for example, that you wouldn't want included in like in an original ground surface. We've added the ability to auto-scale plan sheet scale bars in our advanced drafting module. We've also added the ability to flatten data when exporting to DWGs and DXFs. Features added with version 3.8. 3.8 was the big kickoff at our user conference Dimensions last year in November. A lot circulated around the SX10, but we added a lot of other features as well in addition to support the SX10 and our conventional and GNSS users, such as custom reporting, creating COGO, the new geometry creation routine that can be leveraged for geometry creation, and also cadastral workflows with map checks and creations of survey plats. And then interacting with third-party feature coding, being able to import and export in the feature definition manager was added in 3.8 as well. And then our most recent release here in April, version 390, added a legal description writer. Very, very powerful, customizable tool to use alongside advanced drafting, so you could create all of your plan set deliverables in TBC, or to be kicked out in a text format to use with those third parties, if that's part of your workflow. We've improved the command pane search as TBC has grown and grown and grown and added features and workflows. The ability to call commands that maybe you don't know what it's called exactly, that has been added, and I'll demo that here shortly. And then also the ability to draft in Snap in ortho mode, 90-degree methods. So all of these features we're really excited about, and I'm happy to showcase here for you here using traditional surveying methods of GNSS and total station data. The demo shown today will cover features licensed by TBC Advanced with the advanced drafting module. And again, I've focused on a familiar data set with these new TBC features. All right, so let's jump into our project.
Yeah, like Joe said, there will be a Q&A period at the end here, but if there's any questions or concern you have as going through it, just throw them up in the chat, and I'll hopefully be going through them and we can answer them or go through them.
Yeah. So here's our project. You'll notice some points, some images, image frames, and these vector lines or GNSS observations. This is raw data. So a big message of TBC here, as you see, you can see the raw data. You're not dealing with just coordinates alone, where off of a CSV, for example. You have no idea where those coordinates came from, how they were collected, with what sort of instrumentation, and then just forget about trying to QC whether or not they were accurately collected to represent the field conditions. We'll refine this a little bit in our project settings. I'm off screen, I'll bring it on screen here. I want to show you how to change the coordinate system. So right now we're just in a default projection. I'm going to go into change and change it, coordinate system and zone, to US state plane all the way at the bottom here, and to Colorado North. This data was right outside of our offices here in Westminster, Colorado. In addition, you can switch and toggle back and forth between units. For example, this data set was collected in meters. I want to see these units and work with these units in US survey foot, common to the United States, in the units distance of project settings. You can see in the background that the coordinates have changed automatically. A couple more just sort of introductory things. Your friends are Project Explorer and View Filter Manager. View Filter Manager, along with the layers, allows you to control what you view in TBC. And the Project Explorer is sort of the story of your project. What's in here? We've got our points, photo stations, and media files. There was some imagery taken with this data with the, I think it was a VX imaging station. And it also shows our imported files. Along the routes of the QA/QC story, this shows exactly what was done in order in the field. So to be able to kind of step through what your field surveyor did, this RTD point was completed with a Helmert resection using these points and collected all of this information. So very, very interesting, very powerful tools here at your disposal. A unique feature to Trimble Business Center. Now, I mentioned the command pane earlier. Let's say, for instance, I wanted to view this data in 3D, and I didn't know where that 3D data or the 3D view was on our ribbons here. If I press the F12 key, the command pane launches. And the improved command pane here allows you to search for things. It's an automatic wildcard search where anything with what you've typed in, any command, will show up. So I'll type in 3D. I wanted to launch a 3D view, and all of the commands that start with 3D show up here. I can launch the command right from the command pane, and I've got my 3D view. Close this out, and I'm going to press and hold to drag the 3D view and dock it separately. So I can view these things, this data set, in plan view and in 3D view at the same time. Now, if you'll notice here as well, again on our QA/QC story, there are these red flags. What do those flags mean? There's red flags and yellow flags. Red flags are computational errors or tolerances exceeded, and yellow flags are just warnings. Now, while TBC won't tell you what to do with these, they will display that, hey, something's going on here. Take a look. So in the View tab, if you open up the Flags pane, you'll see the source of these flags. I'm going to focus in on these two right here. If I pick the entry in the Flags pane, it is then selected in my views up top. So right here from this Jeffco AZMK to RTD to 700, there's a mean turned angle, MTA, with a residual that exceeds the horizontal tolerance set by the project. Well, how do I deal with this? It's up to the user. We won't tell you how to deal with it. We'll just tell you we're reporting the raw data. One way for additional information is to right-click and say mean angle report. This will launch an HTML report showing the components of the mean angle, and there's our residual, 5 seconds. Where this residual comes from is in our project settings, computation, mean angles. You can see the horizontal and vertical angle residual acceptance is 3 seconds. So that's where the tolerance comes from. The next one I want to focus on is the Jeffco point itself. And it says this point is out of tolerance. It's pretty high. This is several inches, 22 hundredths horizontally and 62 hundredths vertically. Again, I can right-click on this to launch a bunch of features. If I have this selected in the flags pane, it will also be selected in my points or also in my views. If I right-click, go to Point Derivation Report, I am then presented with an HTML report that is linked to my data, reporting on the coordinates, or the observations and the measurements that define this coordinate. So this Jeffco point can only have one physical location in space, but there's 2 different observations, and this grid point here is probably keyed in the field, is used to define the grid northing, easting, elevation, and height. And here's the point that's throwing it out. Remember I said 22 hundredths and 62 hundredths vertically? And you can see it's enabled as a check. So the surveyor probably in the field went through and tried to check back into this Jeffco point from point RTD. Just use it as a check. And for whatever reason, maybe it's worth a phone call to your field surveyor, say, hey, what happened here? We can deal with this in TBC. Since it is only a check, I'm going to go ahead and disable that observation. And I can do that by expanding the point option in the Project Explorer, finding the observation, here it is, right-clicking, say Properties, and yep, here we go, confirmed as a check. I can turn that to disabled and recompute my project with the F4 key, and the flag goes away. Now, Adam, that was pretty easy to make that red flag warning go away. Do you see some problem with what I just did?
Yeah, I mean, your problem's still there technically. I mean, you disabled it. Like you said, you didn't get rid of the problem. You just almost ignored it at that point. It'd be good if you had another check that actually checked into it properly.
Right, right. So very, very powerful tools here, and we are definitely not advocating hiding potential issues in the data, but at least you're made aware of it. And TBC, if you, as the manager or as the data processor, deems that this problem isn't a problem, you can adjust accordingly. Another useful tool is the spreadsheets in data. We've got a couple of different spreadsheets here: points, occupation for total station measurements, vectors for GNSS. I'm going to launch the point spreadsheet, and again, dynamically linked to our data. Any point that I pick in the spreadsheet will then be highlighted in my views. I get a feature code that I could change. So very, very powerful viewing and editing tools here. TBC has a full suite of CAD applications drafting in the CAD tab and then the Edit tab. I want to go through a couple of new ones that we've added here recently over the last couple of cycles. So in my View Filter Manager, in the raw data, for clarity's sake, I'm going to turn off RTK vectors and then total station vectors, observations, excuse me. And we're going to leverage here feature coding in a second. I'm going to play a nice fun game of connect the dots. It sounds like fun on on today, right, Adam?
Yeah.
But I do want to show you a couple of new CAD tools in the CAD tab. So these tools are licensed right now to advanced drafting, line string from points, a more automated way to play connect the dots, and then the best fit line command that will create straight or curved lines based on point selections, and then we'll get into a little bit of create Kogo. I left the point sheet up here because I want to show you how you can leverage this as a selection tool. There's a series of points here from A7010 to A7018 that I would like to create a line for. And I could use the create line string tool up here, but if I've got these points selected and I click on the create line string from points, my selection is retained, and I can hit apply, and very quickly I've got a line. In the same approach, connect, do a best fit line between these points. Pick my points, pre-select, launch the best fit command, and this will automatically draw before I even said to draw it. Straight line in 2D, 3D, also polynomial curves in 2D and 3D. Hit apply, and my line is created. So here's my best fit line. Close this down. And then here's my connect point line. Now, I mentioned the create Kogo routine earlier, and this was originally started off as a cadastral workflow, but development realized, hey, I think we're onto something here real good. We want to expand this as a way to draft. I'm going to launch the command, say, okay, I don't want to create points. That's what I just unchecked. And there's 3 different options here which to draft. And drafting, you can draft freehand. With this tool, you can take a Plata survey and draft bearings and distances. Or you could actually use this to trace these points out, which I'm going to show here. And those 3 options using this tool are the sort of graphical type base here, the drop-down list, and then it also interacts with the plan view. Drafting line work, arcs, and then side shots as well. You'll notice here I could pick using this tool in the drop-downs, but each of these have two letter codes after it. Once you become a whiz at this thing, Adam, you a whiz create Kogo yet?
No, not yet.
I'm not either.
No.
Once you get used to this, and if you really utilize this tool, you can start going these things by freehand. And I'll show you. I want to do a line by points. Again, remember I'm going to connect these dots, these points. And the code LP shows. I can click in the start point, and I can type in my point where I want to start from. A710, 7010, excuse me. Where I want to end, I can graphically select there. Okay, enter new line. Or all right, I know what line by points is. I can just type in using the keyboard, following that same format. And I just use the letter keys and the enter key to start a new line, and my line is drafted. So we've got a lot of flexibility here now in how you do want to draft pretty useful functions. But for my money, to figure out a site topo like this, especially one that I know has been used, feature codes have been used in the field, the easiest and most efficient way is to use feature coding. If you've got data sets using FXL, which is the actual file from Trimble Access, your field data collection software, or another library that can be converted to the FXL in the feature definition manager kind of utility that goes along with TBC, you can then process that FXL with the data in TBC. In the CAD tab, I'm going to click on the Process Feature Codes command and launch the project settings to define my FXL, the actual library with all the codes. For this tutorial, it uses the Global Features tutorial. I'll navigate to that really quick. There's just a tutorial text here on, right there, Global Features tutorial. Load that in as my feature definition file. Click OK. It loads in. I pick my source to process. You could feature code using TBC drafted points if you would like. So it's not limited just to field data. Click my source, which is just my field data, and hit process. I'm prompted to view a feature code processing report. I do want to view that because I can use that then as a QC tool. And like I was saying earlier, field data and collection can be messy. It can be stressful. You're doing a lot. You got a lot on your mind out there. Maybe field conditions are particularly rough that day. There's a chance that maybe you fat-fingered or messed up a feature code. So right here in the processing report, it shows the number of points using unknown feature codes, and then those number of unknown feature codes with those specific points. ArtD and CB, for example. So leveraging TBC and feature coding as a QA and QC tool as well. All right, so here's my line work. I had mentioned a couple of, a feature in TBC 370 to be able to leverage coding to include or not include things in surfaces. I want to show you that. I want to click on my tree here. It's a broadleaf tree. Right click and say Properties, coded BT. And here, based on the feature definition library, it's coded to include in the surface. Well, I don't really want to include these in the surface. So a couple versions ago, I'd have to go through and click through all of these trees to mass select them and change them to no. We've added, I just right-clicked in Plan View Space, and Match Properties, and a Select Similar command, and I'll click on Select Similar, to instantly select all of those trees with that same BT code. I can then turn them to no. Do not include in the surface. So with that, I'm going to clean up the view here, turn the point IDs and point symbols off. Also turn off the media file, media folder notification in TBC. I'm going to create a quick surface out of this. There we go. I don't want to pick up this control point down here. And I can create a surface in the Surfaces tab. Create surface. I'll call it OG for original ground. You notice your objects with included surface properties recognizes it. Really quick triangulation and viewing the surface and the triangulation. Notice how these tree points are now not included in the surface. A quick tip I like to run through with surfaces. Go into properties. As you, it's got the feature still selected. As you work with irregular shaped surfaces, you can potentially run into these long, inaccurate triangles because it's a triangulated surface. It's just looking from point to point how to create as many triangles to be as dense as possible. Well, this is the entrance to this parking lot here. We didn't collect any information here. Therefore, I don't want to include these surface triangles. You could go through in surfaces and go through the trim surface edge command, or you can go into the properties of the surface maximum edge length. By default, it is set to 1 million meters. That's a lot. A lot of meters.
Yeah, that's a top it would have.
So that translates obviously into 3.28 million feet. Let's reduce that to let's try 50. And those triangles will then be automatically trimmed out. Very quick, very handy tool. For what I want to do next, I want to create some contour lines on the surface. I don't want to see really the surface at all. I'll turn the wireframe off. In the Surfaces tab, there's a Create Contours. You can specify your contour interval. I'll say it's a 1 and an index contour frequency of 5. I equivalent these to the major and minor contour intervals if you're from a Civil 3D environment. You have the option of coloring the contours, giving them line weights. I'll say I want to color the contours by elevation. I'll keep them a little smoother. And then labeling them. If you don't want to label them, you can put in 0 here. And right now, based on the surface I have and the contour interval I have, it gives you a preview of how many contours. Estimated number of contours, 81. Now, I know this data set. There is a problem here. There's not 81 feet of relief on this. So I'm going to say OK. And I've used the contour interval as a QC tool. This point right here is bust. So electric utility, PP, I imagine is power pole. What's not included in the surface. The surface automatically retriangulates. Go into my Project Explorer, Surfaces tab. The contours, while they are 3D line strings, they are still tied to the logic of the surface. And I've set the rebuild method in the properties set to by user. You could set that to auto, to automatically regenerate if the surface has been changed, like it should be. Or right-click on contours and say rebuild contours. This other point is still included. I'm not going to be too worried about that. But that gets the demo across and what I really wanted to show. Another thing that we have added in TBC recently has been further support for creating plan sets. So in the Drafting tab, licensed by Advanced Drafting, we've added text style managers, label style managers, label table style managers. So rather than going through and manually labeling text, and say for instance you had a font that you wish to change on a couple hundred text entities, you could just change the text style that is applied to those texts. You don't have to go through and click each 100, 300, whatever, however many text objects you have to change. Same logic applies to label style managers and the label table style manager. What I want to do for my, my plan set, that's what I'm ultimately going to be creating here. See, I didn't even follow my own logic. I didn't tell you what the end was in mind. The end here, over the next 10 minutes or so, is to create a plan sheet of this surface, of this parking lot topo. And then if there's time, kick out a land XML surface file to be imported into a third-party data software to show you our interoperability. So what I'd like to do is label the surface area of these parking lot islands. So these three are right here. So those are closed figures. I go into my label style manager first, and I can label lines, points, and polygons. All three with their own unique styles and types that you can include in the label. I get a nice little preview of what I've got. So right now, the standard label style that comes default with TBC has the polygon name and then the square footage. I don't care about the name exactly. I just want the square footage. If I click on it, I get the properties to remove it. If I wanted to change the units or precision, I'm going to center it. And that center moves it to the centroid of the object in question. I'll click OK. So now I've got my style ready to go. I just need to apply it. In the Label Polygons command, I can select a single polygon to label, or I can multi-select, and I'm going to do that. This island has a curve associated with it, so I'm going to pick the inside. And I'm multi-selecting by holding the Shift key down as I go and pick through these polygons. I say Add. And there is my label. Now, I've created this label to using the standard text style, and I can go into that real quick. I want the back to be white out, so I can actually read it over my contour line. So I know I use the text style standard. I'm going to check whiteout, hit OK. Recompute the project. Oh, maybe I didn't use the standard. Okay.
So in the label style manager.
Yeah, you have to do it in the label style manager for labels. So I'm in the properties of the label. Set the whiteout to yes. We've added a create leader line command as well. And that's just clicking on the label of the target and dragging where you'd like the text to be. And now we're ready to go. I'm happy with the surface. That was my requirement. I want to create a plan set in my drafting tab, drafting templates. What we'll launch is a series of templates, and I recommend you start with one of these pre-built templates that Trimble has offered with TBC, and customize them to yourself, your customers' requirements, your company's requirements. It's a simple process of dragging and dropping the VCE in, or excuse me, VCO. And you'll notice here a new entity in the Project Explorer called Plan Sets. Project Explorer is really integral to using drafting and the advanced drafting module. There's a concept of a hierarchy here where we've imported a plan set, we've got a series of sheet sets, and then individual sheets. The sheet sets supported by TBC are cross-section sheets, plan grid sheets, and plan and profile sheets. I just want to create a plan sheet, so I'm right-click, say custom sheet. I'll call it test. And now you see a new arrow appears. There is my individual sheet. So sheet set, plan set. Right-click again, say new sheet view. And here's my paper space. The link between my model space and my paper space is the concept of a DynaView. The DynaView first needs to be defined by a closed figure. Any closed figure will do. I like using a polygon because it auto-fills. I'll show you what I mean there. In Create Polygon, I'll say, name it Dyna, and I'm going to pay attention to what layer I put this on. Create a new layer, call it Dyna. Say OK. And now I create my polygon geometry by just clicking. Close. I'll jump back into my sheet view. Well, I just created a polygon filled around my data. I need to now create my DynaView. In Create DynaView, give it a name, DynaView. It's looking for a frame. That's my polygon. It's looking for a scale that we're not going to worry about right now, but it's looking for a location as well. And this is the location in your paper space where you want to see this data. You get a little preview there. Right now it's at 8.333, which is way too big. I'm going to bump that up to 100. Insert it. And there's my DynaView. Now a little trick here as well, and why I use polygon, is that this ugly gray color and the border, I don't want to see. I want this to be nice and clean and neat. I jump back to my view filter manager that I have active, just my filter. I go into my layers, turn off the Dyna layer, and instantly TBC will update. I've got another minute. I will show the auto scaling of the scale bar. In drafting, I'll click Create Scale Bar. I can target a DynaView, so it reads my 100 scale from the DynaView if I pick that DynaView properly. The text is a little large. I could go in and change the text style. For issues of time right now, I'm not going to worry about that. But as your DynaView scale changes, this scale bar will also change. Printing a plan set is quite easy. Print plan set in your drafting tab. You could print physically to a paper. We've also added a print to PDF option. I'll click OK. And your PDF viewer will launch your plan set. So I did that. I was looking at the clock. I did that in about 5 minutes. This is all customizable to how you would like to see. So icons here for your company logo can be inserted, custom text blocks, blocks of title blocks from DWG, for example, or read and can be inserted into TBC, fully support blocks specifically from Autodesk. So a lot of flexibility here as well. I'm not going to have time to get into it, but we offer an XML, land XML export. If you exported this surface using this and you get an XML file, bring it into Civil 3D or any program that reads the XML, the triangulation will be the same. And also what comes in are the surface members that define that surface. So you'll get all of the geometry and all of these points as well. So I went a little long here on our demo. I'd like to answer any questions. Adam, what do we got, man?
Yeah, we got a few questions. One of them asking about the best fit line in 3D, if it uses a tin to determine the best fit with the elevation, which I assume it just uses the point node elevations.
Yes, maybe you could, whoever asked that question could clarify, but the best fit line will just use those nodes selected. If that didn't answer your question, please follow up.
We got another one. It appears CAD functions were developed with Autodesk in mind. Is this also compatible with MicroStation? I wasn't here for much of the development at TBC, but I know, like I said, one of the goals is the operability with all the other softwares out there. So the CAD functions are pretty similar. I don't know if you want to expand on that, Joe.
Yeah. So we want to play nice with everyone. And while the DGN format from Bentley is not supported, we do offer a full support of the iModel format, the DGN.ITM. That was an initiative a couple of cycles back as well. So importing data from an iModel format directly into TBC with intelligence, so the roading intelligence from the Bentley product. In addition, you can hook up to Bentley's ProjectWise to share data back and forth and pull data directly from ProjectWise into TBC. And then going back out, if applicable, to a MicroStation or a Bentley. In the export, we offer the DXF. That's probably your best bet, in addition to the land XML.
I have a question here from Travis. What happens to point if you disable it? As far as I know, the point still exists there, but it's not going to be used in any computations.
Correct. So let's take, for example, this kind of rogue point here. If you can see, I've got a little slice of my surface and contour still there. Point 926. Check out the properties. Scroll up to find it. It is defined by a single total station measurement. I'm going to go ahead and disable it. See my little red button here is on notify me that I need a compute project. I'll recompute the project. The point goes away. I turn the surfaces off, but it also would then not be included in the surface definition. I'm going to rebuild the contours, and you'll see there that that point is not included in the contours either. And to turn that back on, data is still there, 926. I would just re-enable that point.
Speaking of contours, how about edit a single contour line? Maybe. Yeah,
so these contour lines are just featured as CAD polylines and single elevation. You could right-click and hit Edit, also appear in the Edit tab. And as you can see, as expected, there's a lot of vertices. They're all the same elevation. But if I pick an area I want to edit, can click and manually edit that contour line as well.
We have a couple of questions here about FXL and the feature coding. Let's see. How do you control and change the size of point symbols inserted by the FXL?
That would be in the feature definition manager. Who asked that question?
It's George Turner.
George, we'll get back to you on that. Unfortunately, I think that answer for how to change the point symbol size is a little bit more involved than what we have time here. You'd have to do that within the feature definition manager. And so myself or somebody from the TBC team will reach out to you with that answer.
Again, with FXL files, we have difficulties holding block scales and exporting to AutoCAD. Is there a trick to this? I think that's an issue that we've been aware of. And there's a workaround, and again, someone can reach out, I guess, after.
Okay. Yeah, so the base of that question is difficulties with exporting blocks, feature-coded blocks, to Autodesk. And that interoperability is key to TBC. We want what you see in TBC to be the same in Autodesk as well. And there are a couple of limitations right now, a couple of things that don't come over properly, and we are actively looking on that. And I had a meeting with Autodesk about that a couple of weeks ago. And stay tuned, I'll say, because there's active development on that issue, on that front.
We have Kogo legal descriptions again, or another one. Is it based on grid bearings or geodetic bearings? I believe it's only grid bearings, but there is grid and ground distances.
Yes, so in Kogo, and this is a very good question, in the Create Kogo routine, you can specify if you're working in horizontal grid or ground. So either or is supported.
But just grid bearings. I think it's just meant for small scale things, I believe. Confirm that.
Okay. We'll confirm that. All right, I got a couple minutes left. I'll jump back into my presentation. The next steps. Hopefully, this has entertained you and you've learned a couple of things. I'm very happy to announce that our July monthly Power Hour, we're going to have Mark White, who is a geospatial training and support manager for our distribution partner in Georgia, Duncan Parnell. Mark is a great guy, and I would argue an expert in this topic of defining differences and working with grid and ground coordinates, a topic that's very essential to us surveyors. And I want to thank Mark for that help. Looking forward to that. So please tune in a couple weeks from today. Your next steps would be to utilize the online resources, either our TBC community page or our Trimble TBC Facebook page. We've really tried to create a user forum and with the community page, and it is monitored by Trimble and TBC staffers, but it's a great thing to see as a product manager, to see our customers, our base, interact with each other. Boris and Riley, who have been in this position briefly before me, have done a great job of growing the software and creating this, and this is a large part of their legacy, is that we've got excitement around TBC. There's a lot of positive momentum, and you can see that from our TBC community page. YouTube videos, our TBC survey channel has been around. We've got about 2,000 followers there. A lot of content, I think about 200 videos. Check those out. Obviously, these TBC Power Hours, this session will be recorded and is being recorded, and will be posted for viewing online at this location. All of the previous monthly sessions, and there's been we've been doing this for about 2 years now, are on this site as well, archived, documented for your viewing. So I would encourage you, if you're not a TBC user, to go ahead and download TBC from the web page there. Ask your Trimble partner, your distribution partner, for a demo license, a 30-day demo, and then start off with these digital resources or the tutorials. You'll find this exact data set that I used here today under the processing feature codes tutorial. And also, we've been doing a very successful, popular tip of the week as well that will reach out to you on community and on our Facebook page. So any of these questions or any of the follow-ups that we need to take, we'll get back to you. Thank you very much for your attendance. Adam, thank you very much for your help.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for listening, guys.
And thank you for your time. And everybody enjoy TBC. We'll see you next month for Grid and Ground.